It is a beautiful October morning at the Kentucky Horse Park in Lexington, Kentucky, and 4 championship Standardbreds are ready for another day in their post-racing careers. Marion Marauder, Mr. Muscleman, won the West and Western Dreamer, dazzled fans with their on-track feats, but now they dazzle in an entirely different way. These 4 reside in the Horse Park's Hall of Champions and offer fans a view of the horse that many have never seen. Lee Carter is the park's president, and he gives us some insight on the experience and the special connection between the head, the heart, and the horse. Lee, please tell us a little bit about your role here at the Kentucky Horse Park.
Yeah, so I'm the president of the Kentucky Horse Park. We are a state agency. We have about 125 employees. At this point, we'll shrink a little bit during the winter, but my job is really just kind of keep the wheels going, make sure that our staff are equipped with what they need to provide the experiences for our guests, whether it's here in our Hall of Champions, whether it's on the competition side or wherever. But we're about providing experiences, connecting people to the horse, and so that's what we focus on.
As far as connecting people to the horse, which is just such a special animal, tell us about everything that goes into making it such a great experience for people to come and visit them.
Yeah. For many of our guests, this might be the closest they ever get to a horse, to be able to walk up to a Marion Marauder or to a Mr. Muscleman or whomever and to pet him and feed him peppermints or carrots or whatever. So we really do focus on that connection. Our belief is that there is a special connection between the head, the heart, and the horse. And so we look at ways that we can build on that to make that first experience with the horse magical, that makes them want to come back or maybe actually get involved in the industry. So we're always looking for different, unique ways to engage the public because we think it's a meaningful experience.
What do you think is your biggest reward for your job?
It really is seeing that connection. Somebody asked me one time, like, where's my favorite place to go on the park? And as weird as this may sound, I'm gonna say it's my office, because my office overlooks the visitor center. And so as guests come in and they see the Secretariat statue or Man of War statue, and they have that first engagement with the park, I can see the excitement on their face, and then their excitement as they leave, because again, we're about creating that experience, connecting people to the horse, and so it's fun to see how that kind of happens.
When you go to the Hall of Champions, which is your favorite Standardbred to stop and visit?
Marion Marauder, primarily because he was the first horse that me in my role, I got to bring in as the president of the park. So, he's been here just a little over a year, so I'm always going to have an affinity for him, just because, again, he was the first one that I worked through that process to bring into the Hall of Champions. So.
It's Marion Marauder still in front. Southwind Frank is coming. Marion Marauder, Southwind Frank. Marion Marauder and Southwind Frank, they hit the line together. Here comes Won the West and Shadow Play way out wide. Won the West and Jim Morrill Jr. with the drive of a lifetime. It's Won the West. There will be Mr. Muscle and he's home free. The bargain basement millionaire does it.
Western Dreamer by 2.5 lengths to win second. Western Dreamer to win the 1997 Cane Pace.
Dave McMillan has been a park volunteer for 13 years, and his knowledge of park history is unmatched. The Kentucky native has a special place in his heart for horses and the park. He takes us through the park's history and tells us why Standardbreds make some of the best Hall of Champion horses.
A little bit about the park. This was called Walnut Hall Farm, and it was a very famous, of course, Standardbred farm. It's very large, and this barn that's right behind us was the stallion barn. And in about 1971, I think it could have even been 1970, I brought a group of school kids over here. There were about 120, and maybe more than that, 120 to 140. And this is what we came to see. I had a connection here that worked in the barn. And so we came here on a field trip and had a picnic. So that was my first experience here. But we have 1,226 acres here altogether. And I've heard different estimates on this, but I'm pretty sure that I'm right. I mean, at least maybe it's changed a little bit this year where we've got the temporary barns. But we have 1,201 stalls. And so the barn that I'm standing in front of now was built sometime in the 1890s. We're not sure of the exact year. But one thing about it that when I'm talking with visitors, that at least the older ones like myself seem to really enjoy this. And I just had a structural engineer here, I think it was Saturday, and he was really taken with this. He was from Florida. Is that the interior of it, the part that holds it up, there's no hardware of any kind. There are no nails, there are no screws, there are no nothing. It's all held together with, it's either dovetailed to fit together or it's put together with pegs. And way back when I was a kid, just like I told you, I always get a little bit off the subject, but I always liked to study world geography. And I've never been to hardly any of those places, but I've met people here from all those places, the most obscure countries you can think of. I've met people from their islands, you name it, they're here. Every state, we have some states that repeat over and over and over, but we've had visitors from every state, and today, now who knows what today's going to bring. That's just the way it is. Every time you come out here, there's always something different.
Now, Dave, going from having a background in breeding hunter jumpers, you said you've really become quite fond of the Standardbred. Tell us why.
Well, the Standardbreds are much more guest friendly. In fact, the one that I use the most and have used, ever since most of the time since I've been here, the last 10 years at least, is Western Dreamer. Of course, he's a pacer, but he's really, really good with visitors. And I've actually taught him to give hugs. And the visitor can back up against his shoulder, and he does it on his own. He brings his head around like this and puts it down on their shoulder. And I always say ahead of time, I go through kind of a little spiel. I say about liability. I said, now before I bring him out, the park requires me to make this announcement in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. If we have any jealous boyfriends or husbands, we can't be responsible because they always fall in love with him. And they always give him a kiss right on his muzzle, which he likes that. So they're a lot more people friendly for the most part. And then the other thing I've really been emphasizing this year is the durability of them. I like the fact that, when they're doing their thing, 2 feet hit the ground at once rather than one. And so I emphasize that big time. They all understand the importance of that. I do that every time. And so we have lots of fans who come that just want to see one specific one, or maybe even one perhaps that's out there buried in the Memorial Garden. And they're actually buried here. It's not just memorial. So that once they come here, that's it. And so anyhow, we're thinking about, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself here, but in the future burying some down there with some of the Standardbred greats from way back when this was Walnut Hall.
Rob Willis has a background in thoroughbred racing and still loves the sport to this day, but his work with Standardbreds has created a whole new love affair. As the supervisor at the Hall of Champions, he is responsible for everything that spectators see when they walk through those barn doors.
My name's Rob Willis. I'm the supervisor here at the Hall of Champions, and the way I like to explain the Hall of Champions is kind of a living museum. And right now we highlight, we have 4 Hall of Fame quality champion Standardbreds. And we've had a variety of breeds over the years, but right now we're really Standardbred heavy.
Now you have a thoroughbred background, but you become pretty partial here to these Standardbreds as well.
Yeah, I really enjoy the sport of harness racing. These guys here, even when I came here and working with Derby winners, was kind of like what drew me to the Hall of Champions, but quickly fell in love with Dreamer and won the West, and Mr. Muscleman, the story of Ramblin' Willie, and take great pride in Marion Marauder being here, having a Hamiltonian winner, triple crown winner in the barn with Kentucky Derby winners.
You take a lot of pride in the barn here for the Hall of Champions. What does coming to work for you every day mean to you?
Yeah, not to be cliche, it's almost not like work. I enjoy coming here a lot. These guys I take a lot of pride in taking care of and being responsible for these champion racehorses.
You walk into the Hall of Champions and you just see the pictures of the horses, the information. What does that mean for you to be able to share with the fans?
Like I said, I call this a living museum. It means a lot. And a lot of people that come here, people think different things. A lot of people that come to the horse park aren't very knowledgeable about horses. That's why they come to the park. And sometimes with the different sports of racing, harness racing, thoroughbred racing, they're very new to it. And these guys open the door. With these guys, using these guys as examples, a lot of times I equate these guys to like Tom Brady or John Unitas or Michael Jordan. And they get to see it up close, get to pet them, see their story, meet them personally. And then you leave here with a very positive experience about horses and harness racing.